Hello. So I'm going to answer the 4 questions. And the first one, what's a unique characteristic of mine that constantly prompts good feedback? One thing that I do for my teams and the business is I try to make technical work real clear, like technical terms real clear for the business. For example, like in an ArcGIS project, sometimes the developers, they're working on a lot of geospatial layers, a lot of API integrations, and the stakeholders, they don't really understand like the technical details. So I reframed updates. I try to reframe them like value. So for instance, like how the new mapping layers would quickly, let the people outside visualize assets on the maps. So things like that, it just builds trust with the business and leadership, and like it helps the developers feel like their work is understood. So easy terms. Next, how do I use metrics to improve my teams? I use metrics as a way to like spark or facilitate conversations, foster them on improvements. So on like a maximum upgrade project, I track velocity, cycle time, and sometimes even though velocity looks stable, like the cycle time, it kept climbing. So when I shared that trend, like in retrospectives and showed it to the team, the team realized that sometimes the workflows, like the asset workflows, were slowing them down, like testing and QA. So we did peer reviews and we somehow streamlined the handoff that the developers were doing with QA. We streamlined that into our sprints, and our cycle time went down maybe about 20%, making delivery, it was much smoother then, much smoother. The largest challenge I have faced as an agilist. So my toughest challenge, I think, to this date was helping lead teams moving from SAP enhancements from waterfall to agile. The business and the PMs, they expected rigid timelines. And we had not formally informed them of the change. So it caused a lot of internal disruptions. And then the requirements that they had kept shifting and changing. So the turning point when I discussed it with my team, they just basically committed to the process. They were committed to the process. So they work overtime during demos. They showed the value to the PMs in the business that completing the work incrementally can be of value. So instead of a 6-month release, which was the rigid timeline, we delivered the features and the deliverables in 3 sprints. It was like 3 sprints with the business being involved, and we were able to make changes while they were involved as necessary when they requested it. So it was those little small wins that really showed the PMs and leadership like the value of agile. It kept their confidence up. It kept them believing in the process, and eventually they bought into it. The most technical team I had was probably building mobile solutions and mobile things that was tied into our Maximal system when I was at Duke Energy. So the team was handling advanced like APIs and integrations and even some offline capabilities. So my role wasn't to dive into the code because I'm not a coder or programmer or really technical, but it was to remove the blockers. So I coordinated like data access to help the product owner clarify the requirements, and we did that in Jira. So I ensured like our Jira system, that the descriptions were really clear and that they assisted people in understanding what was going on, because the stakeholders, they had access to Jira. They can look at the system and they can see what was going on. So that made sure the stakeholders understood the features in like a plain language. And as an example, the descriptions explain how like offline work orders will speed up like the field productivity if they were using them. So all of this information, it made the developers stay focused on the work. And then the business, they saw the value and the impact that it had. Thank you.